Welcome to Mindful Me with Dr. Marga. I am Hannah Alcoseba Fernandez, media correspondent for sustainability. Today we turn the tables and interview the host of this show, Dr. Marga Zarraga herself. Dr. Marga is family medicine physician and life coach practicing medical aesthetics and mind-body medicine and wellness based in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Dr. Marga is an award-winning physician, including being the recipient of the 2021 Family Physician of the Year from the Massachusetts Academy of Family Physicians. She holds an academic title of assistant professor from the University of Massachusetts Medical School. In 2022, Dr. Marga ventured into creating this TV program, Mindful Me with Dr. Marga, to present mindful perspectives on pursuing the journey to one's optimal level of health and well-being. Today is another segment of Mindful Me, Stories of Self-Care with Dr. Marga. Dr. Marga, good morning.
Yes, I'm here. On a different side of the room.
Exactly. So we'd be really so interested to know, what were the signs of stress in your life?
So I believe we could start with that morning. It was actually a commute to work. I felt very like it was just a normal day. However, the things that we find normal sometimes we don't recognize. So there was actually something like 11 cars backed up in the highway. So at the time I was working in corporate medicine, and it was an icy morning. Icy mornings in New England are obviously dangerous, and there was this 11-car backed up situation accident in the highway. So I was assigned to a specific location, and I got a phone call from the boss that I had to change and switch locations from where I was already headed. So again, the way that we reported to work was, I think a lot of people don't appreciate this actually about medicine and medical professionals. Medicine, nursing, doctors, the profession was actually originating from war times, like the Red Cross, for example. So in other words, there's a militaristic approach and a very structured approach, like when you do what you're told, especially when we need to get things done on time, close the center on time, all of that stuff. So I was told to go to another location. I didn't bat an eyelash, no nothing. I didn't complain, nothing. I was just, okay, I'm there. It's trying to be the good doctor. So I arrived 20 minutes late for the shift because I got detoured. On the way there was an additional detour. So all of this stuff, I was just rolling with it. I wasn't experiencing anything physical at that time. So I start the shift at around 8:20 a.m. Thankfully, I had backup that came in later that morning. By 3 p.m., I said, I don't feel well. I started to have, at that time, like a heavy, it was also quite dull. I wasn't sure what was going on. And then, so my colleague thankfully said, let me give you a checkup. So I occupied the room in our center and did an EKG. And to make a long story short, my blood pressure was elevated. And when I say elevated, so for those people at home and medical professionals listening to us, usually elevated to us because again, we have this culture now here and the way we practice medicine that we don't really call anything elevated unless it's you're close to a stroke or dying, right? So elevated for me, and even at the time I was still processing all of this, was like in the 135/80. Okay. And now I say elevated because my normal now, when I'm like free of all of this mental and physical stress, is like 110/70. So that's not a small number. And so I'm also trying to hit two birds with one stone here, teaching from my example that 24 points from your real baseline relaxed blood pressure, it's not dangerous or life-threatening, but that's a big jump. And that's what was going on that morning. I couldn't, whatever I was doing at work was not allowing me to slow down. And so it was a wake-up call. I did my rounds, I went to a cardiologist to discuss. And that cardiologist actually told me, there are a lot of parents like you who come to me for this kind of situation. So, so I think slowly I started to realize that I needed a life change. And one of my, I would say, key ingredients is a supportive family. And shortly after, I decided to step away from an employed corporate position and open my private practice, which has helped me with flexibility and less of the go, go, go nature of the healthcare profession.
Dr. Marga, you make it sound so easy. Oh, I wasn't feeling so well. I decided to leave my dog-eat-dog job. Let me open my private practice. We know it. Surely it shouldn't have been that easy. So what was the first thing you did? What was the first step that you did?
I think, yes, I did gloss over that. But I started with family. I had a heart-to-heart with my husband. We looked at everything. We looked at our personal lives and our professional goals. Most importantly, our children and their needs. And he and I knew that there were so many benefits in all aspects that could be reaped if we began that journey earlier on. And I have to say, I'm one of the younger people in this specific country. In other countries may be different, but in the United States, most doctors are employed. So those who choose this route are, I would say, a rarity, especially where I practice. But the rewards, again, it fits a specific type and a personality. I definitely found a comfortable place. But again, it didn't start there. I needed a lot of support from my husband, who has a business background. And more importantly, I had to work on my mindset, which is, I think, being the show, being Mindful Me, I think what I'd like to share is you don't have all the answers when you start something, but you start anyway because your passion, I'm going to borrow a term you used, compass. The compass has been switched, the direction has shifted, and it is clear where you're facing, it's clear where you're headed. You don't know all the steps in front of you, but you start. And so, like I said, I think the very clear thing was to go to someone you trust, to someone you love, and ask for advice, assistance, who, my life partner and so many other things.
You're very lucky.
Yes, I am.
Very lucky to be able to say that. So on that note, what is something you can tell probably people who are listening to you? Maybe not all of them are not as fortunate as you, have a supportive family, supportive husband, loved ones. What do you think you can tell in general people who want to make that shift to a more mindful kind of lifestyle?
So I think having the bigger step, there's smaller steps and there are bigger steps. So you have to look at the smaller steps and you have to have bigger steps. A small step, for example, that's readily available, such as the show, is to listen to people. They'll make this very clear. Listen to people who make you feel light about life. That's very lightness. I'm making it so concrete because there are people that you listen to, even when you go into a party, where it's heavy. Listening to the news is heavy. Not all the time. There are very rare shows who present the good news, but I'm just saying, examine yourself in the presence of people in person or in this day and age. There's so much content out there. So listen. And then once you expose yourself to people whose footsteps you want to follow, start reflecting. So that's a small step because that's free, that's available, that can be immediate. It's all around you. You just have to keep your eyes up, okay? The bigger step is to get, let's say, a coach, an official relationship that will keep you accountable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marga, for everything you've said. I'm sure it will be so helpful to everybody who's listening to you right now.
It can be lonely living with memory loss or dementia. But you are not alone. Memory cafes are bringing people affected by dementia together at welcoming social events.
It's fun. I am so thankful to have a place where my mom and I can go and laugh and just enjoy the experience.
I've made new friends. They understand what I'm going through because they are living it too.
Memory cafes encourage me to try different activities, which is really refreshing.
You'll find guest artists, musicians and dancers, educational programs, or simply a place to relax and chat with others. These gatherings are free, and you can attend as many as you would like. Cafes are offered weekly or monthly, with options to meet in person, online, or even by telephone. Visit these websites to learn more and find a memory cafe near you.
And next up to the fridge is Nia. Here she goes. Look at that concentration. Will she knock it out of the park? She chose the apple. What an incredible choice. Every healthy choice can help reduce your risk of cancer. Champion your health.
Welcome back to Mindful Me with Dr. Marga. We're going to start with a quote of the day, which says that don't forget you're human. It's okay to have a meltdown. Just don't unpack and live there. Refocus on where you're headed. Wow, I personally, very relevant to me, to all of us. Okay, Dr. Marga, you were speaking to me off camera about how you respond to stress. Your stress response.
Yes.
Can you share more with us about that?
So I've been making it a central point of teaching in my in day-to-day life, the concept of the stress response. The stress response is an experience of both our mind and body that are connected, that is centered around identifying things that we're not familiar with as threats. Okay? And we may be conscious or unconscious of that stress response happening. If those of us who are catching this entire episode, if they listen to the first part where I shared my own personal experience of stress response, that's an example of an unconscious experience of stress response. I wasn't saying, this is too much, this is too much. I wasn't aware of it, I wasn't thinking it, I wasn't speaking it. I was just go, go, go. And I feel like, there's a subset of people out there who can really use this message to recognize that we put ourselves, and I'm choosing all my words, we are responsible for all of our decisions. We chose the job that we want to do. We chose the mindset that we bring to work every day, to our homes every day, to our relationships. Those are our decisions. And so the stress response can be triggered by things outside of us, but that's our response. We own that response. And so if something is either empowering or disempowering, some of the things that people would find useful to do is to decipher which is empowering and which is disempowering. Because not all stress responses are unhealthy. Let's just make it clear. It could be, if you really need to perform, there's a healthy level of stress that will make you give that presentation beautifully. But there's also the unhealthy type. And the unhealthy type is actually, what I like to say is actually a devolution of our race, of the human race. Why do I use this big term, devolution? It's because there's the process of evolution. We adapt, continue to adapt and cope through time. And maybe our ancestors, their struggles were probably around agriculture, hunting, or animals hunting them, right? But now in modern day life, electric bills, or like any type of bill, finances, addiction, domestic violence, those are our modern day, sources of threats, responses. Of course, I'm citing some very, extreme situations, but I just wanted to, people to see that those concerns have evolved today, and the higher, more optimized way to respond is the opposite, which is the relaxation response.
Okay.
So that's why I've promoted this whole advocacy about mindfulness, because there is a path where from day to day, one can start their own personal contemplative life. And again, maybe a big word, contemplative life. What is that? It starts with just being aware of your breath. There's so many ways of approaching this. It's just closing your eyes. You don't have to think of words, nothing. You just close your eyes and breathe. And you can do that for a full 30 seconds. Maybe you're fidgety a bit. Stop judging it. Just be there, be present. You're not in your morning routine. You're not in sorting your bills. You are there. And what I can assure you, as I want to assure you and the audience at home, when you do these small things, what happens to your mind-body? Remember, stress response is a mind-body experience. So is the relaxation response. It will trigger parts of your brain, among other things, to rest fully. And when you rest fully, you allow the natural state of healing and relaxation, and all the inflammation turns down, because the excess of inflammation causes disease, whereas the reverse of repair and healing causes vitality and energy.
Dr. Marga, I mean, when you're contemplating being mindful, there aren't, you don't really have proof that you're doing it the right way. Like, how do you know when you're doing it right? I mean, I can do this every day. I'm breathing in and out. I'm being all quiet and respectful of what I'm feeling. But how do I know if I'm doing it right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You bring up a very good point that always comes up in these courses that can be found. And I want to assure you this: there is no right way.
Okay.
That's the key thing that I hope everybody walks away with today. There is no right way. There is only your way. So just do and just be.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And don't take my word for it. If again, I've been in this space for a while. Other authors have said the same thing. Just do, just be.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Marga. I'm sure that will be very helpful to most people, to all of us. So thank you so much for allowing me to interview you. I'll have it the other way for this time. And thank you to all the listeners. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day for everyone.